Allow me to tell you how confused the Cadillac is. In the early 2000s, it released a really cool sports sedan called the CT5-V, and that thing was amazing. It was a perfect luxury sports sedan for people with a lot of money who lived in big houses like me. What people really liked about the CT5-V is that it was really the first contender to the BMW M5 or all the other German sports sedans. It had a V8 engine, manual transmission, rear-wheel drive. Cadillac then really milked that cow. I mean, we had the AT-SV. The entire V brand became known in racing, and Cadillac injected a lot of money in that division. It was fair to say then that Cadillac finally had its performance arm. The V division was finally the answer to BMW's M, and all the money and energy that was injected in that sub-brand had worked. But then, suddenly, Cadillac realized that people were not buying sedans anymore, and it announced that it would remove all the sedans from its lineup. The CTS disappeared, so did the ATS, which was its little sister, the CT6 and the XTS. But then a few years later, it came back and it announced that the sedans, well, they were back. It's called the CT5. No, not the CTS. I know, confusing. But what you need to know is that it replaces the old car. Well, not exactly, because this thing is actually smaller than the former CTS. It slots between the ATS and the CTS. There's another car that Cadillac also announced called the CT4, and it's even smaller than this vehicle. I'm not going to talk about that one yet. Now the good news is that V is back. This is the CT5-V. Great, the most powerful version in the lineup, except it's not. V doesn't mean what it used to mean. This is a mid-performance category car. Apparently there's an even more powerful version called the Blackwing coming out. Actually, as I'm filming this, the Blackwing cars are now being revealed, and they're offering V8 power, rear-wheel drive, manual transmissions, and more than 600 horsepower. Why is it called Blackwing? I have no idea. This then is not the V car of the past. Obviously, Cadillac doesn't accord it as much importance as it did, even if it injected tremendous amounts of money in the V division. Nevertheless, this is, in my opinion, a very good-looking car, especially in this red. It feels good to see a good old Cadillac sports sedan to be back on the market, and I'm really looking forward to driving it, so come with me and we'll go for a drive. So to begin with, I really like the seating position in this new CT5. It really has this cockpit feel. I have this really neat Alcantara steering wheel and sports bucket seats. And as in any sports sedan, the rear seat is quite cramped, as well as the trunk. It seems to be a quintessential sports sedan criteria. Now, before I go into the specifics of this car, you're probably wondering where it fits in the Cadillac lineup and what it's up against. So like I said earlier, this is mid-range performance, meaning that it was designed to go against vehicles like the BMW M340i, Audi S4, Mercedes AMG C43. So in terms of, from a technical standpoint, the great news is that it rides on the same architecture as the CTS, which is the Alpha platform. That's General Motors' way of saying that it's a rear bias platform. It has near 50-50 weight distribution. That's fantastic. And another great trait about the CT5-V is that you can have it in both all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. Here in Canada, there are no more sports sedans that come with rear-wheel drive. They're all-wheel drive, so that's also a really good thing. Power comes from a twin turbocharged 3-liter V6. It's good for 380 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque, and it's paired to GM's excellent 10-speed automatic. They put that in everything. It was the same transmission in that Escalade I reviewed not long ago. So like in any luxury sports sedan, I have different drive modes in the CT5. Right now, I'm running in Tour. I have a little button right here in front of my transmission that allows me to select between Tour, Sport, or Track, and I also have snow and ice as well. What that does is that it modifies the vehicle's traction control system, fiddles with the transmission, throttle response, to give you the best configuration possible to attack a corner. So far rides like a good luxury sedan. It feels like a solid vehicle. To unlock its full potential, you really have to engage what Cadillac calls a V mode, and it's a little button I have right here. However, before I do that, I need to configure it. So in typical GM fashion, the infotainment system in the CT5-V is excellent. I mean, it's easy to comprehend, icons are big, and the software responds quite fast, and it's loaded with technology. However, I don't quite understand why General Motors gives you 3 different methods to operate it. Again, it has a lot to do with how confused the company is. I can either use touch controls, then I have these little knobs right here that allow me to cycle through each icon, like so, or I can use this console mounted device right here, very similar to what Mazda and BMW do. I have a knob dial here, I have a volume dial here, so I have two volume knobs here and there. Why? I have no idea. Actually, I know why. What Cadillac was saying is that they want to offer consumers different possibilities to play with the infotainment system. I get that, but why should I have 3 modes? On top of having 2 volume buttons here, I have a 3rd volume button here on the steering wheel, as well as other controls to play with the infotainment system. Why can't they just make one way to do it, but do it well? Anyway, to access the V settings and configure the car to your liking, you have to first go in the settings menu, then you go in the vehicles tab, and you have a menu here called V mode. When you click on V mode, you can adjust the car to your liking. I have the engine sound, which can be changed from stealth, Tour, Sport, and Track. I want to be on a track, so I'll put it in track mode because obviously everybody drives Cadillac CT5Vs on the track. Steering, same thing. I'm going to use track as well. Suspension, full track. I want this thing to be as quick responding as possible and give me all of the performance it has in stock. Okay, so now that your Cadillac is set up to chase BMW M cars, all you need to do is press the little V button here on the steering wheel. And now you hear the exhaust has changed, the transmission downshift. Time to see what it has in store. All right, nice sounding V6. It's okay, it likes to snap when it shifts. Oh yeah, gear shifts are fast. Oh yeah, this is good. It's not blindingly quick, but it has just the right amount of power. It's nice sweet spot performance. It's quite linear as well. I'm quite impressed with the performance from this V6. Of course, I can use the paddle shifters here, which I highly recommend. You can either do it right away when you're in automatic mode, or you can shift it in M mode right here. All you do is pull it down once, and you're in manual mode. Oh yeah. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting sound, however. I say it sounds good. I mean, it sounds like something, which is great nowadays, but it's kind of a very monotone and droning sound. In sport mode, it's fun, but if you put it back in standard modes, so I'm gonna remove the V, and as I'm cruising along, you don't hear it. But if I happen to just gun the throttle a bit, you hear it? It just sounds like this very lazy fat man. Nevertheless, I'm so far enjoying the kind of performance this car is offering. In the corner, nice and compliant. I got great steering feel in this car. I'm really feeling everything the front end is doing, and that's very important when you're driving a sports sedan. It's also very confidence-inspiring because of that weight distribution. I feel very low to the ground. I really have this feeling that I can play around with the rear, and the rear will go out if you don't be careful. But because this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, it's first rear-wheel drive, and it kicks in the front wheels when you need them. So it really gives you this amazing balance when you're losing grip or when you're driving on cold tarmac like I'm doing right now. It's really the setup that you want. If I were to drive this thing during the summertime on a track, obviously I'd want to have rear-wheel drive. But since I'm here in Canada and we have winter and frozen roads, etc., I would much prefer having the all-wheel drive version as a yearly daily driver. Now we're gonna go on an icy road. It'll be a bit snowy. I won't be going as fast, but I want to try this car's traction system, level of traction, and see how it fares. Okay, now so to drive the car on this snowy surface, I'm gonna engage the snow and ice mode. It's going to give me, according to Cadillac, all the control I need to push this sports sedan on this very slippery surface. Oh, so far it's just as planted as on pavement. Coming out of the corner here, I feel the rear pulling out just a bit. This is fun. Good brakes, very, very solid brake. Amazing response because I set them in sport. So, I mean, this proves that the CT5 is not just this rear-wheel drive hooligan that'll drift all the time. It's also quite controllable on a slippery surface. So, the Cadillac sports sedan is back, and not only does it look fantastic, it also drives fantastic. There's a beautiful blend of balance and precision in this platform. What's also really compelling about the CT5V is the pricing. It kicks off at $56,000, and this model, fully loaded, is $66,000. So you're under 70 grand for a fully loaded sports sedan that's just as precise and accomplished as the Germans. Now, I can't wait to try the Blackwing models. Obviously, Cadillac has what it takes to take on the competition. Now, what it needs to do, GM, please listen to me. Don't kill this thing off after 1 year. let it live for several generations, and then you'll really have a great reputation in the sports sedan space.